Alright guys, welcome to your very first HTML and CSS tutorial. In this first video, I'm going to go through a short history about HTML and CSS. And I'm also going to talk about what tools you're going to need to write your own web pages. Well, what is HTML? HTML is a markup language that your web browser uses to display the web page. It understands basically your browser understands what HTML is and displays it as a web page. And HTML, short history I could give you first is HTML was invented in the 1980s by scientists working at colleges, and they needed ways to share their research with other scientists across the country of the United States. So this guy, Tim Berners-Lee, he basically invented HTML to send documents across the internet. And this is before the internet is what we know as the internet today. Nobody basically back then except these guys were using the internet. So they made this language called HTML, and it's actually still the same language that we use today. But I'm sure there's been a lot of more added to it to give it more of artistic expression and commercial value also. So basically I'm going to be talking about, in this tutorial series, I'm going to take you through the basics all the way up to the most advanced features of HTML and CSS. In the end of the series, towards the end of the series rather, I'm going to be getting into what HTML5 is and CSS3, which are the latest versions. And this is very important because HTML5 and CSS3 are very important versions. They came out in 2012, and they add a lot of functionality that prior to these versions it was hard to do fancy things on your web page. You would have to know a programming language like JavaScript. But now with HTML5 and CSS3, you can do a lot of cool stuff very easily without having to learn an extra programming language. So basically I can tell you what the tools you're going to need for this tutorial is basically not much. You're going to need a text editor. You can use the text editor that comes with your computer. Bare bones text editor is okay, but I recommend that you get a text editor that's made for coding. And the one I use on Windows, it is not available for Mac, but I'm sure there is a equivalent for it on Mac. You'll just have to do a search for HTML editor for Mac, and you'll probably find something. But what I use is Notepad++. It's for Windows. It's free. And you just go to Notepad, search for Google Notepad +++. No, oh, not +++. I mean Notepad++, and you'll find it there, and you just download it. It's free. I guess that's all I have to say for this tutorial. And is there anything else I was supposed to cover? Yeah, I can basically I can tell you a little, like a brief introduction to the HTML and the CSS. Is HTML is tags. It consists of tags that are read by the browser. And for example, if you're going to put an image up on your website, you put that inside an image tag. And I'll explain what these tags look like, and we'll be writing these tags in the next video. But basically, it displays content. Like if you're going to write a paragraph in an article, you put the article, the paragraph inside a paragraph tag, and you got a header, you put inside a header tag, and so on. So as you can tell, HTML is very simple, straightforward. It's not hard to learn, very easy. And CSS, which I'll be covering side by side with the HTML because they work together, and I'll be covering both in this tutorial series, both HTML and CSS. CSS, what is it? It is basically the artistic counterpart to HTML, whereas HTML is just bare bones content like text and images and links. CSS adds the artistic element to your web pages. With CSS, you'll be applying backgrounds, colors, coloring your text, coloring your backgrounds, layout of the page. You'll be adding margins, padding, and just basically shadows, lots of stuff with the CSS that makes the page look visually appealing. So these are two separate things, but they work hand in hand, and CSS is just as easy as HTML. I mean, it's not complicated. It is a bit different because you're adding different elements. It's more it is more flexible than HTML, you can say, because it's basically artistic language, so there's more room for variation, but it's straightforward, easy to use, and yeah, I guess that's all there is to cover for this introduction video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.